Dr. Owais Durrani is an emergency medical physician in Houston, Texas. He gave me his reaction to what Trump and his health secretary said today.
It's a reaction of frustration and disappointment. These are institutions, when we think of the HHS or CDC or the health secretary, that, I, as a pre-medical student, medical student, residency, and then as an attending, looked up to for guidance, inspiration, the rigor of their studies. And unfortunately, everything they said today or quoted today or characterized today was simply bad science, or at times very, very reckless. And I'm afraid that's going to lead to a lot of confusion for our patients. It's going to lead to patients not taking certain medications like Tylenol when they need to. And it's unfortunately just going to lead to bad patient care in an already highly, fragmented and very, uncertain healthcare system that we have in the United States.
Now, for those who don't know, could you remind us exactly what Tylenol is and if there are any credible links to autism?
Yeah, so Tylenol is probably one of the most common medications that I recommend patients take. Pregnant, non-pregnant, children, elderly. The active ingredient is acetaminophen. It is a really safe medication and is amazing for pain and controlling fever. When it comes to the link to autism, this is something that's been studied for decades. So it's something that's been looked at. And there are some older, poorly designed studies that showed some linkages, not causality, between Tylenol and autism. One of the best studies that we have is actually a study that was published last year in Sweden, 2.5 million children, and it was a sibling study. And so essentially what they looked at was siblings that came from the same mom. And during one pregnancy, the mom may have taken Tylenol. During the other pregnancy, they didn't. And they found no differences in the rates of autism. And so in this type of study, obviously everything was very controlled. Same genetic pool, same environmental factors, and there was no causal connection found between autism and Tylenol.
Now, doctors in the United States will soon be advised not to prescribe the pain reliever Tylenol. What are the possible implications of that for patients?
Yeah, so it complicates things, right? Traditionally, we've looked to these organizations like the FDA to make medical decisions and give advice to our patients. Unfortunately, it looks like we really can't do that anymore. We look now to medical societies, so ACOG, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, or AAP, the Pediatrics Organization, and they are still organizations that are very closely following gold standard science. And so we're going to have to look to them to provide guidance. When it comes to patients, unfortunately, it is going to cause a lot of fear and uncertainty for them. To them, I say, today's announcement had no new information in terms of like a new study that we didn't know about or a new piece of information that was missed. They essentially looked at older studies and a compilation of all of those studies. So there's no new information is the first thing I would say to them. The second thing I would say to them is reach out to that trusted physician, to your OB or your primary care doctor. Ask them. They are well versed in the risk and benefit of every medication and every treatment. And they're the ones that you have that rapport and trust with, and they will never lead you astray.
Now, a final question. Does any of this come as a surprise to you, given Trump's past record on healthcare issues?
Unfortunately not. This is something where when he, throughout the pandemic and after the pandemic, when it came to the COVID vaccines, and then when the discussions of him forming his cabinet started and RFK Jr. was floated as the HHS secretary, which ended up happening, we were all very worried that this was the trajectory that we were headed down. He has obviously made many, many past statements with regards to numerous treatments, whether it's, medications or vaccines or other things. And, I wish, and we all kind of gave him that benefit of the doubt, that he would follow gold standard science and maybe he would change his tune once he was in office. But unfortunately, that has not happened. And this is essentially the kind of the worst case scenario that we were all fearing.
All right. That was ER Dr. Owais Durrani in Houston, Texas. Thank you very much for joining us.